Welcome to Chaplain Otto Ministries. I'm really excited about today. I have a longtime friend, Brandon. Is that what you want to, what do you go by these days? A. I-N-K? Or I-N-C like monsters?
I-N-K.
No, good friend, man from back in the day. And we went to high school together. When I joined the military, I know that we definitely split off for a while, and we took some different avenues in life, and somehow we're right back together. The only difference is your stepdad's not taking us to the skate park anymore. So I think we have a little bit bigger bikes now, and I definitely keep the kickstand on mine. I'm not sure about yours. It's good to have you here today, and I know that you've gone through a lot of changes, and kind of the purpose of you really coming here today was to just talk about, I think we'll just start at the very beginning. I mean, again, I know some of these answers, but I don't know them all. So, where did you grow up?
So I'm originally from Johnstown, Utica area. Went through a lot, growing up. When I turned 18, I started venturing off and doing my own thing and started getting into drugs.
I think we were doing drugs. I don't want it to have been you being 21. I definitely remember smoking weed.
Oh, yeah.
We were probably like 13 or 14 years old. And
we started off real young, man.
I remember trying to find people to buy us, bottles of liquor, maybe in middle school. And me, and Corey and Cody, we had a band, and I was the least talented person of everybody.
Oh, no. Come on.
I couldn't play nothing. Perseverance is what it was. Such a cool time. We did all this together.
Yeah.
And I remember the skate park, the Flow.
Oh, yeah.
Those
were some of the good times.
The best weekends, I feel like. It was just such a good escape. I mean, I don't know if you were doing drugs there, but I wasn't.
Oh, yeah. Remember, you messed with me the whole time because I got really hot. And I was too hot. I kept going to the bathroom and washing my face. But yeah.
So it's fair to say that we probably... I mean, we grew up kind of around the same-ish environments. I remember I lived with you for, quite a few weeks in high school when I got kicked out of my house. Your family is just, during that era was always very near and dear to my heart. And I think maybe 17, 18 age is really kind of when, we just went. I don't think that it was anything like we had beef or anything.
Nah, it was just
different.
We all grew out, left home, went our separate ways.
I think you went by a different nickname.
They used to call me Clown.
Yeah, and I was like, what is this? Oh my God, I remember going to some apartment. I think the last time I saw you, up until we ran into each other at a church, I remember seeing you. I came to visit you at some apartment in North. And when I left, I was like, I don't know what was going on. And there was sorry, my memory's just getting jogged, but it was like an ICP, type of house. And, I knew who the Juggalos were, you say from, the Johnstown.
Oh, yeah.
But this was like a different experience for me on a completely, I felt like I was in a music video.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what was that era of your life?
So we were really a bunch of juggalos running around town causing havoc. Just all we cared about was getting high and going to shows. We ventured off, but I guess you'd call it a little hippie gang. All we liked to do was, just
instead of painting your nails, you painted your face.
We went around town and
when did you, would you say that's the era when you maybe started going down a little bit of a darker path?
Yeah, I'd have to say my drug of choice was methamphetamines. And, when I started doing that, it was a whole new, when they say there's demonic, portals and stuff like that, it really is. When you get into that type of drug and you're up that many days in a row, a certain type of veil is lifted and you just see the whole world in a different perspective, and it is not.
I've never done mesh. I don't know what it does to you. Maybe someone here watching doesn't know what it does to you. So speed?
Yeah. So meth is a speed, and once you get up there, it's hard to come down. Well, I'll just tell you this: your job, your family, your life can fit.
It's okay, man.
Edit that. Your life can fit in that needle.
Okay. So is there, that's the way that you take this is, again,
Yeah, I was a shooter. I got hepatitis C from it. I don't have it now currently because I got rid of it. So my apologies if I get a little emotional.
oh man, I mean, honestly, emotion, dude, I think it's good. And I feel like as men, we're maybe programmed to not show emotion growing up, but I've found the more that I'm vulnerable and I let these emotions come out, it's like, it's impactful and it's meaningful. And man, I wasn't expecting that. I mean, you're this big grizzly biker now, and, we're talking about the young times, and to, just see that, I can tell where your heart's at. And
Yeah.
honestly, anybody watching that would as well. So forgive me if this sounds incorrect how I ask this, but how do you go from, okay, together, you and I, we smoked weed and we drank Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
Where does the change come from? Did you go have steps of trying different drugs, or
Yeah.
where did meth come into play, in your life?
Well, I'd have to say I started with cocaine.
Okay.
I felt like that was like a normal, a natural thing. So, it's not a big deal, just cocaine. But then I found meth, and that was like quarter to a dollar in comparison with, it was just cheaper. It lasted longer. And the feeling you got, I don't want to glorify it in anything, but you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As soon as you pick it up, you might as well just, count your days, count your time. Because, like I said, everything will fit in a syringe. Everything you love and care about, it's gone. So, I started, smoke weed, doing coke, got introduced to methamphetamines, and after that, it was just, I thought that it was controllable. I would take a break. I would stop doing it after a couple months or a couple weeks, or shoot, I'd even only do it on the weekend. Then it was an everyday thing. Then I woke up one day, and, trying to take a break, I went to sleep, and then I slept for like 18 hours. And I was like, what's going on? Like, my buddy's like, dude, you have to have meth to stay awake. You're addicted. And I was like, no. I had went to prison and came back, picked it back up again, and started doing the same thing. Nothing really changed. I just got better at doing it. Got better at living, making money the wrong way.
I didn't realize that you did time.
Yeah, I've been twice.
Maybe I thought you went to jail, but you did time?
Yeah,
okay.
I've got probably 3 years in. I've got 3 years of prison time in.
Okay. Where at?
So I went to Noble the first time, and then the second time I went to Lancaster, and I got my security level raised and went into Lebanon.
You were in Leb.
Yeah.
I know we might have some dudes at Leb that are going to get to watch this.
Actually, I got to meet your friend, my Sally, my best friend, man. James Short, if you ever see this, dude, just let you know. I don't know why, but the system where they use JPay took money and wouldn't let me get back into it. Long story short, man,
I forgot all about that because I met him, and I can tell you the exact date. It was March 10th, 24. I preached there. And I don't know, I had something motorcycle on, and this guy he comes up and he's like, oh, you ride bikes? And I was like, yeah, I ride. And he's like, oh, me too. He's like, my celly used to ride. And I'm like, oh, that kid, where's he from? He's like, North. But no way, I know him. Man, that's just...
Yeah.
We're going to have to get back into that, because I remember I sent you a message as soon as I got to the
yeah,
man, see what
me and James Short, and his last name is exact to it. He is short. When I say he's short, that means he's short. But yeah, we kept in contact for years. Actually, this last year is when I really I changed my phone number and all that, and it's just I need to ride him, honestly.
So 18, kind of getting into a different phase, I'm going to guess, influence maybe with a little bit of the group that
Yeah.
friends that you were surrounding yourself in. So you said you ended up at Noble Correctional. Are we able to talk about how those steps started, or what led to that, maybe in some sense?
I ended up actually catching some pretty decent charges. I got caught with 3 pounds of weed,
Dang.
$15,000, and a couple gun charges. I had gotten 3 years out of that. And I got out on judicial release because of my first offense of being a felon and all that. You know, I never really gotten in big trouble like that. All of my stuff was all pot or something little and minuscule. But after that, you know, I started to do things well, I thought. Like I was on probation. Then I just started venturing off. And once I got off probation and started, you know, venturing off and thinking that I can do it all by myself,
Yeah.
that's when it started coming back again. Started doing the meth.
Were you clean your first time there? Did you? I know drugs are easy to get in there.
So
Right now, Suboxone is a big thing, and
Yeah.
and so
while I was in prison, was I clean?
yeah,
Yeah. Sometimes I would do like a Suboxone or two.
it's relative. It's not like they're going to come grab you.
Right.
I'm trying to be like for real, and like
Yeah. This is all out on the table, and it's all here being said.
And I don't mean to like hit pause on that. So many people think that the concept is like, okay, you get arrested for, let's say, drugs. Like maybe not you, but maybe people that get addicted to drugs, they do breaking and entering, end up getting caught, and they end up having to do some time. And I think the average person's thought and concept, which I was guilty of this as well, until I experienced the prison system as a volunteer and teacher. Drugs are easier to get in prison. Drugs are easier to get in prison than I know how to currently get them on the street.
Yes.
And so do you feel that your first time going to Ohio's rehabilitation system, that they provided you with tools for successful time inside, and do you think that you were set up for success on release?
It's all really about your mindset, where your head is. If you go in there, this is a perfect example. I'm glad you brought that up, because my first time of being in prison, I was good. Like I didn't get in trouble. I wasn't fighting. I was picking my battles. I mean, I think I got in one little thing, and then no. So I was actually in a level 1, level 2, where it was just a dorm. So like I had a bunkie, yeah, but it wasn't like that. That year, it was more like that was the year where I was like, okay, I'm facing 3 years. I got a kid on me out. You know what I mean? I'm trying to do. So in that year, yes, I did use a lot of the prison's like utilities and ways to change your life. I took like responsibilities of a man. It's called RAM. That was and then I took all kinds of dad classes. You know what I mean? I actually took that time that year to really try.
Yeah.
Because like I said, 3 years isn't a lot, but it is a lot.
Yeah. Well, you're stuck in that place the whole time. Restricted movement.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not as much as we'll get into Lebanon, because I know that that's what you're saying right now is going to be completely different from what we end up getting into.
Yeah. So this is the kindergarten version of the prison time. This year I was actually in an honor dorm. I was in classes. I got caught shooting tattoos one time and got kicked out of the honor dorm. And that was the main, really, my biggest ticket. He didn't even give me a ticket for that because he made me clean. He was like, listen, I know you're trying to get your judicial. They were cool about it. You've never been in trouble. They let me go. And then I got a TV ticket. Ooh. You know what I mean? That was the biggest ticket that year. So you had to have your TV off at a certain time. The TV. Yeah. My bad. If you're in a level 1, level 2, you got TVs, lights out at 11. Nobody wants TV on. What's understand? You got 400 people right next to each other. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Same room. Everybody's listening to TV. It can get quite loud. Yeah.
So you did a year in Noble.
Yeah.
And in that year, really, it sounds like you tried to put your best foot forward. Probably got a little bored here and there, messed around with a little bit of Suboxone or whatnot.
And that was me just trying to do it without any help. That was me doing it. And here I am to tell you I can't do it by myself. So I tried to do it all by myself again. You know, I ended up doing meth more when I got out afterwards. After I started getting comfortable and stuff, I thought I had it. Then I started venturing off again. Well, this time, when I ventured off, I ventured deep. Like I was,
Period of time wise, just for anybody that doesn't know, so you got out of Noble. What do you think the time frame was when you started to fall back into that habit space? And then what was the snowball effect that led to the next charge?
so I started venturing back off probably a year or two later.
Okay.
And at that point, I was already doing my own business. Like I guess I was actually doing maintenance on apartments. I had like 2 landlords that kept me busy, so I was doing good. Then I started venturing off and doing the wrong thing again. And then once I started picking up,
Anything happened? I mean, what? Where you woke up one day and you're like, well, I'm gonna do meth today.
yeah, pretty much.
So
No, yeah, it.
again, and I don't want that to come across. I honestly, I have no idea.
You're not gonna hurt my feelings.
Yeah, but and I'm
scared to be
who's watching. Like, I'm asking questions because like I want to know, and I feel like the more that I can learn about stuff like this, it gives me the opportunity for empathy. Empathy is something I never really had growing up, or being able to put myself in someone else's shoes. I feel like we grew up with the mentality that, if that's kind of lifestyle you get into, that you're a loser. Maybe is that how people were? And it's like, well, how would something like that happen to someone like this? And the more that I've been involved in ministry, I see that, man, it can happen. It can happen to anybody, and it really can. And people don't understand that. And I've also found that it's really hard to get back up on your feet. Maybe in your position, I'm going to guess by the second time that you got out of prison that there was probably not much family support or help.
My mom's always answered the phone call, so
Good old Ivy.
yeah, bless her soul. She is one of the most loving people that you could ever meet. So going back to the addiction part, the second time in prison, let's get more into depth of that, because this is like the key part. When I started venturing off this last time, I'm not gonna lie, I was selling a lot of weed. So I felt like I was on top. And then when I tell you, you can lose everything like that, it's gone. I couldn't keep up with it. I felt like once you get that type of power, it felt like you felt like you were like invincible. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen to me. I'm never going to go broke, blah, blah, blah. It's fine. It's meth. I don't got nothing to do anyways. Well, I got really into it, and I actually showed up at my aunt's house one day, paranoid out of my gourd. I had already been through a lot of things. Like I had been shot at in my house. Like it's
Wait, what?
yeah. Like
Okay.
yeah.
How? What?
The bullet hole was actually still there. So this is that time area. This is like 3 years after I got out of prison the first time. I started really like getting deeper and deeper and deeper and going back to my old ways. I couldn't tell you why I got shot at that. They didn't try to rob me. They kicked in a window, got bloody on the way out. I thought they shot my dog, but like I legit, like I had to grab the girl I was with and put him behind a door. Then they shot. You know what I mean? I woke up and there was curtains flying, and all I heard was windows crashing, and it all happened so fast. But anyways, like I had trauma like that, getting a car stolen all the time. Yeah, like it was just
The same car getting stolen.
you didn't hang out with the friends that I hung. Listen, my best friend is the one who peeled the ignition on both of my cars. I don't care, but that's how everybody knew that my car was peeled. But like you just took a pair of scissors or whatever. So I had all this trauma and stuff, and I was real paranoid and I wouldn't stay up for a week. It would be like 2.
No sleep.
3. Yeah. Like I'm telling you, like I would have to force myself to eat. I'd have to know that I'm getting hydrated. I was 135 pounds, dude, when I first went into rehab. I'm 250 now.
Seen, and you're unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Almost in these photos that you've shared more recently of, what you've come from. And I think there's like some pictures of you at maybe a Burger King that I've seen.
Yeah, McDonald's. Yeah.
And, looking at those and seeing you now, like, man, it breaks my heart to know that what you were going through, man. And I'm sorry that I wasn't there for you.
No, it's nobody's fault, man. It's nobody's fault.
But just
Not by my end.
just sitting here thinking, it's just like, man, yeah, you're friends with someone for such a freaking long time, and then you see, what happens. But by the grace of God, look at you today.
Yeah,
And here I am getting emotional.
now I don't feel.
I'm proud of you, man. And so okay, you're getting shot at. You're up for 3 weeks.
Got both. Actually, I had 2 motorcycles stolen from me too. Matter of fact, I got 2 motorcycles stolen from me. Got one back. Freaking cars getting stolen up left and right. And
Like the movie.
dude, I'm living this horrible freaking movie, dude, and it's just like never ending. I go to my aunt's house and I'm like, dude, I'm paranoid. Like, I think everybody's after me, and I'm not going to get into it because there's actually some personal information that I don't want to share about a certain individual that I went to his house and I thought he was the cops. And I could tell you this man was not the cop. I want to tell you that right now. If he ever watches this, he will lose it when he hears this because it'll make more sense. I don't know if I'll ever see the guy again. I'm not.
He might not recognize you if for some reason he comes across this.
Dude, I was on my motorcycle and he's like, I just got a call saying that there are cops pulling people over on bikes. I was like, police. He's like, dude, what are you on? And I was like, nothing. I gotta go. And I legit took off on my crotch rocket. Freaking, it was raining and everything. I didn't know where else to go. I went to my aunt's. It was the closest thing to me where I felt comfortable and safe. You know what I mean? My aunt and uncles. I told her what was going on and she's like, dude, there's something wrong. Like, she called my mom and my mom ended up getting me into a rehab,
Yeah.
And
what rehab did you go to?
it was a place in Dayton.
Okay.
I can't remember, but I remember this week of my life right here was like, my mom pretty much kidnapped me. It was like, had me talking to this crazy part of the story too. Had me talking to the owner of the rehab, which was actually Eric, friend.
Yeah. How old were you?
I don't know. I don't remember. This is probably eight years ago. I don't know. I remember thinking that my mom was a part of the feds. Eric, and this was real to me though.
So you had so many, fake thoughts.
Yeah, it was real to me. Like everything was happening. Everybody was a part of a society to me, and this was real. Like,
And that's from,
I remember my mom was having me talk to the head, and I thought he told me, I'll never forget, I was in the car, and he was sitting there talking to me, and I was just like, paranoid about everything that he said. Like, everything that he said, I thought it was something that had to do with something else. He was like, you're either going to die or you're going to go to prison if you don't change your ways. And I thought, he's like, I'm either going to kill you, I'm either going to come with me, or I'm going to take you to prison. I was like, man, dude, like, I've done so much messed up stuff in my life. Who is this guy? Like, he's sick from somebody. I swear, and my mom was just like, oh my God, like a monster. I wasn't me, dude.
I couldn't imagine.
I was so gone, dude, and I finally agreed to it. And this is after, like, I think I had stayed at my mom's for like 2 days trying to just grab it might have been more than that. It might have been like a week or so, but I remember the first night she was trying to comfort me, and I was just like, he's not around the corner. And it was like 12 o'clock at night. Everybody's asleep. I've seen shadows. It was just like the worst. And
I just now was remembered how hyper you and I were as kids, so I couldn't imagine. I mean, with the drug induced and that being that had to feel like absolute chaos.
She had to go through all these steps to even get me admitted to this Dayton place because I had to be a resider there, I guess. I remember going into an interview of being accepted into their system, into their government system, like their, what is it called, Medicare, whatever. So they were interviewing me, and it was like, what? so I heard you like to do meth. And I got real paranoid. I was like, I like meth. God, I in my head, I still thought I was going to jail, dude. And even when I got brought to that facility, looked scary to me. Like, and even letting go of that guy's hand, like, he's like, we're not bad guys. I was like, dude, you're never going to get out of this place. He's like, dude, you can leave after a certain amount of time if you're deemed fit for the world. So I was like, oh man, be here for training. I'm not built for society. Like, it's gone. It's just, and when I stayed the night there, the first night, I was so paranoid that I thought that their air conditioning would turn on. I would legit hide my face, hold my breath, because I thought they were trying to gas me. This is real. Like, this is all real to me, dude. Like, it sounds silly to people that's never went through this, but.
So when you went there high?
No, I was just, like I said, I had been,
Okay.
Mom took me for a couple days. It took a couple days to get in the system to even be accepted into there. So it was a fight and struggle for not only my mom and Eric, but the guy who was pushing for me.
So the longevity, probably,
Yeah,
losing for so long, being up,
I was
weeks at a time, like,
yeah,
mostly.
It tore my brain up. So when I got in there, I got diagnosed with temporarily drug-induced schizophrenia.
Okay.
Or whatever, like, and a lot of meth heads will get that after it's from not taking care of your body, not drinking your water, not eating, and your body needs that stuff, and you're staying awake. You're insane. After 5 days, like, you're supposedly you're insane. So it took me that long to even, like, I was still, but they had they set me up real good there. I had smoke breaks, you know what I mean? Like, I was okay, cool. Then I left.
Were you there?
Probably was only there like 3 weeks after, or maybe it was a month and a half. I don't know.
Did you leave a little crazier or the same?
I felt better.
It's crazy. I mean,
I felt better, but I knew I was going to go back there, and knew I was going to get high. That was the goal. I needed to get out of there. I'm done with this. What am I doing? Like, I just need to get out there. I don't care. I can get high again. And then I think I even went back there again. So, like, I had repeated this step like multiple times, and all along this time, I'm not even allowed to see my kid or talk to my kid. And that was the whole reason why I was doing this. Like, backing up, like, I don't blame her, but, you know, when she found out I was doing drugs, I wasn't allowed to see him or talk to him, which really, honestly, made me get worse. Like, once she started, like, this is before the rehab, before I checked myself in, my mom was even like, you're not going to be able to see him unless you go. Like, you got to go. Like, you're insane. Like, there's something wrong. Yeah. And listen, her tough love is what also helped, because even though it was really hard for her to do, I couldn't go home. I couldn't stay I couldn't stay home, which that's the thing that I needed. I needed to really be alone. I needed to be rock completely bottom.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's probably was a very a hard decision. And maybe people struggle with that decision of what will happen. And I think that we'll probably get further into that, but there was a time that you wanted to change.
Yeah.
And thank God for her tough love at this point.
Yeah.
What happened? What were the steps from you leaving this rehab facility? Obviously, the first time you were in prison, you were trying to rehabilitate. Now you got out, a little bit of time went by, you jumped back into some old habits, got even worse on that.
100-fold.
To rehab, and now the goal inside of rehab is to get out to get high.
Yep.
When we're incarcerated, the goal was to get out and stay sober.
Yeah.
So the mentality's changed a little bit. So
now I'm at this point, I'm addicted. Like, I'm gone. And you know, I'd spent nights, you know, chasing my car that got stolen from my friends. And let me just fill in a gap. It's just, there's so much that I could be here forever telling you really messed up stories that I went through because of, you know,
I've got 15 hours.
Yeah, but I'm not here to glorify any of that. It's not cool. But this is what has led to it. So it's painful truth. You know, like there had been times when I was walking around, you know, it was -20. If you remember those years, that's when I was walking around homeless. And it was because like I had money, but
Living on the streets at a time?
yes,
Okay.
for it was
Like
yeah,
living on the sidewalks?
sleep.
Okay.
Yeah, man. It was more like
Gotcha.
my friends thought I did heroin because I would go to their house and I'd just be out. And a lot of people just like let him sleep. Let him sleep. Yeah, so a lot of the times if I had a place to stay, it wasn't very long. And at this point I'd already spent all my money from everything that I made from being this big, you know, whatever, after losing everything. When I don't even want to call it a rehab. It was a farm.
Okay.
And it's called Outreach. This place is actually a faith-based rehabilitation, I guess. I guess you could call it a rehab, but it wasn't anything like I'd ever experienced. It wasn't, hey, we're going to go hit NA, we're going to talk about your drugs that you used to do, and we're just going to remind you about everything. No, that's what rehab did for me. Like when I was in rehab, it didn't work because I was constantly thinking about it. Like, and there was no faith-based anything there. I can't, and this is where I'm here to tell you, like, you can't do that by yourself.
Yeah.
You can't.
You're right. No, you can't. And I mean, I thankfully never got into hard drugs. I mean, I tried cocaine a couple times. I really was trying to understand what it smelled like. That's why I tried to do it a couple times. But you know, my mom said to me that, you know, I was getting shot at while my friends were shooting up. Yeah. And that, like, as bad as this sounds, she's like, I'm glad that you were there and not here. And I had a significant hard time drinking alcohol, and it got worse. So I understand what you mean about trying to do it on your own, because trying to do it on my own it always had the same repeat effect. Yeah, I would get as far as I can get on my own, and then I would think it would be okay.
Yeah.
So for me, it would be, okay, well, if I'm out, I can only drink one beer. Well, one beer turned into 2 beers at times. Next thing you know, I've got a bottle somewhere, taking a sip here and there at times. I realized that I could not do this on my own.
Yeah.
And the day I'm like struggling with this thought in my mind, and I don't mean to take away from this by any means. We're going to jump right back into it. But, you know, someone told me, they were like, where God is sending you, a drink doesn't belong in your hand. Now, this person had no reason to know that I had beer at the house, and it was a pastor. He had no reason to know that I was struggling with this thought. And I said, you're right. And I came home and I dumped out the beer and I dumped out the bottle of alcohol that I had, and I said, I'm done. I'm really done this time, and I can only do it with you, God. Because I felt like I heard from the Lord. And I've been in my faith for a while with this. And 3 weeks later, I was put as the chaplain for Columbus, for the combat vets. And I was the only one without a drink in my hand. So, yeah, man, so I look at those moments because it's easy to want to fall back. But I remember where I was and what I've come through, and I know that I can't do it on my own. So faith is a huge thing. So you're at this, we'll call it the faith farm.
Yeah, I like that. No, listen, that's what it would have been, dude. So this place was awesome. Like I said, instead of like, if you start talking about it and you started seeming like you really like talking about the things that you used to do when you're on drugs, we'd be like, hey, chill out, man. You're not living that life no more. So this was strictly like, we would wake up and go straight into meditation prayer for an hour. We would go up and have breakfast, which everything was based on donations. You didn't have to pay for it. There was no smoke breaks. I hated that. So I was like, well, this is the thing that's going to keep me from going here. Yeah, and you know what's funny? This is the thing. This is funny. And the person who found all these places is Eric that said that. Really, it ain't this. I don't care what he says. God really worked through an atheist, man, and that is insane.
Eric, I know you're going to be watching this, and I just want to say I'm so glad that God used it.
Yeah, and
Love you.
and he loves you, and he loves you. But that's what I've always said too. Like,
Isn't that why? So here, I'll tell you, an atheist bought half of this gear so that I could share the gospel.
really,
Isn't that something? Come on,
I think they're snake believers.
before I ever did our first podcast, I was speaking at a veterans group, and I was like, I want to get this word out there. I want to teach my class on there. And he messaged me. He's like, look, man, I am not a believer, but I really believe in what you're doing. The whole God thing, like, okay, but here's this. And I was like, man, God used you.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
as much as he didn't like to hear, he probably did.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
So
It's the little tugs that, when you start believing and diving into your faith, you see more things that is like, that was God. That was him. And the whole time. And you know what? This whole time, like, I couldn't even tell you that God wasn't there because he was. Like, there was a time in I just felt all the evil. And I remember telling my mom, like, there's evil around me. Like, it's evil. Like, I feel like there's a lot of witchcraft, you know what I mean? Like, real life, like, like I said, this drug lifts up a veil of this world to that, and it's a
demonic entities are absolutely real. Getting back to the Faith Farm, where I loved, while you were talking, I was picking up on something, and it's they didn't reminisce in the past.
Yeah,
and it seemed like as soon as they started to reminisce in the past, that they would really shut that down and
take you back into where you need to be.
That is powerful, man. And it's like somebody told me that, going back and reminiscing on that is like digging up the dead and dancing with the body.
Yeah.
And when I heard it, I'm a Pictionary person. When I heard it and envisioned it like that, I was like, none of those times were good.
Yeah.
So we're at the Faith Farm working on getting rehabilitated. No smoke break.
Yeah, I hated it.
So,
it was all different to me. And at this point, I had already tried to get into I tried to get into the other rehab where I originally started at, and they wouldn't allow me back in. Because the last time I was there, I flipped and I kind of went off. It was just all really God telling me, like, this is not where I want you to be. You're not going to do it on your own. This is me. So at that point, we all just pretty much gave it to him, and here comes this Faith Farm. I love it. It's called Outreach. It's called Outreach. It's in Pataskala, well, outside of Pataskala. And the backstory on that, you really need people out there listening needs to really look into that outreach program. Because the backstory on it is it's just as cool as mine. The guy who started it was actually running from the mafia and started that. Everything about this place is just how they got the property. It was pretty much given. Everything is based off of donations, and you don't pay anything. After you start healing and you're able to get up and go work, because if anybody knows coming off meth or heroin, you're going to have weeks where you can't do anything. Like, I slept for 3 months. If I wasn't eating, I was using the bathroom or sleeping. And it took me that long. So this place, like I said, once you were able to heal and get up and do things, like your jobs, the only thing they wanted you to do was we would go to a church and sweep. Or we would go, we went to really cool things. We went to Mohican cabins.
Okay.
And we cleared out brushes. And then the next week, we got spent an entire week at one of their cabins. It's not a boring, it's really just all God. And I remember Ryan one time, so I was like, I'm not used to it.
Yeah.
It's no.
It's a new feeling.
So when I went there, something changed in me. Obviously, it's not something. I know what it is. But you go there and go there for 9 months, and then they have another step. This place is, like I said, it's a farm. It's in a big barn that literally they just concreted and made it livable with all these bunk beds and all this, donation stuff. I don't even want to call it a rehab, because it's not a rehab. You chop wood and it's all men's, you know what I mean? And let me tell you something. Motherhood is what's got me and kept me out of it along with God. Like, it's always got to be a band of brothers, you know what I'm saying? Gives you a good group. Like, you can't hang out with them old people that you used to use with. And, like, there everybody holds each other accountable. And it's like, we would wake up, like I said, start the meditation, go to breakfast, and then we would have a Bible study where it was the head of our farm. He would come and do Bible study after breakfast, and then we would go off, and some people had farm work, some people had housework. Like, we were building a house on the property and refurbishing it, and we all signed our names in the you know what I mean, in the drywall before we put it all up. So, like, it was like a place where you, like, really, like, heal. You got yourself used to going back to work. You got yourself used to the normal things, just relearning how to live, because after like, this was a 10-year habit for me.
Wow.
Like, I did this for 10 years, 10 plus years. And,
I did not realize that.
yeah.
It's crazy how quick time goes by, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're learning, it sounds like you're really getting a sense that you can actually do stuff, and it's building camaraderie.
Yeah. So the baseline of this is, like, you're in the womb of your mother for 9 months. Like, they based that for 9 months. Notice, like, 9 months, 9 months. You're pretty much rebirthing yourself and relearning. In the first 30 days, you can't make calls out. You're literally separating yourself from the world and in the secular world, and that's a real thing. I ended up getting rebaptized there, and from that point forward, like, I thought I had it. Then my grandpa died. And he was the one man of God that I really looked up to. And in my head, I knew it. I knew I was going to go out there, and I left early. And
did you leave because of your grandfather's passing? Is that why you didn't really?
I mean, I wouldn't blame it on that, but, you know, I guess so.
Yeah.
It was just, it took that to be like, dude, I'm going to try to do this on my own. I had it in my head that I was going to try, but in the back of my mind, there was this little part that knew I was going to do it again. I did good for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks later, I actually broke into a storage unit and got in trouble that way. And it was like, you should have stayed. But I'm still here with you, so this is what's going to happen. Going to go to jail. And that was, like, pretty much my sign. I should have stayed. I left too early. Don't ever leave too early. But just because I left doesn't mean that he wasn't there with me. Like, he was there with me the whole time, and I went and did my time, and this time I turned up a little more. Even after all that, you know, faith-based stuff and, you know, rebirthing myself, like, I still made mistakes.
Now, you went to jail or prison?
I went to prison.
Okay.
This is my second time. I was still on probation for previous things. I got caught with some needles and stuff like that, and I was fighting that. So pretty much.
So to understand correctly, almost 9 months of not using, 3 months of sleeping, and then close to 6 months of rehabilitating yourself through a faith-based program. Your grandfather dies. You get out, you're doing okay for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're now on the way to the pit.
Yep. I knew I was going to prison that day anyways, because I had a drug test coming up, and guess what? I was going to fail. So I knew it was going to happen. Like,
was that the stipulations? Like, if you fail, I failed a drug test on probation one time. And
oh yeah, well,
over again.
Weed and meth is too, like, you're going back to prison. You're going mindless thing. Yeah. Usually, you know, with weed, they're like, come back in 2 weeks, and if you're not clean, you're done for.
Yep.
But
so, broke into a storage unit, got in trouble, had a couple other charges, and basically they just kind of hit you with max penalty. I'm going to guess, looking at you as, this is what you asked for, this is what you get.
Yeah. And like I said, just because I accepted Christ and stuff like that and got rebaptized, it does not mean that you are done. Like, that doesn't.
It doesn't.
I'm here to tell you, you're still going to do stuff. I still do stuff. And, you know,
make mistakes all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing, like, you're no match for any of that. Like, if you think for 1 second that you are a match, then you don't believe that Jesus died for your sins, because that's why he did it, so that you did. You don't have to be perfect. Like, it's not what you did, it's what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, obviously you accept God. That doesn't mean that you're exempt from any life crimes
That doesn't mean,
or making poor decisions.
Yeah.
After accepting God for real 7 years ago, and I've been to jail since then. I've made poor decisions since then, and what I've realized is I don't have to quit anything for God to love me.
Yeah.
And the more that I learn who God is, the closer I get to God. Things that in my past that I used to indulge on or love become less appetizing.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's not, I don't have anything against anybody who drinks. I can go hang out at the bar now. I used to not be able to, but I can hang around people that drink and not fall into that. But I didn't have to quit drinking to get close to God.
Right.
The closer that I got to God through drinking and all of the mistakes that I made is when those parts of my life slowly became not a part of me anymore. And I don't think that people realize that.
That's what God does.
Yeah.
He ain't going to take it from you. He's going to slowly pull you away from it. Because, dude, like you said, like, we're still going to make mistakes. Just because you accept Christ doesn't mean that you're cured of any type of bad decision.
Yeah.
Dude, you're still going to have to fight it, but it's just the simplicity of it.
Well, we still have choice. We've had choice from the beginning. And what I've realized is there's all these different avenues that we take, like Route A. We all started on Route A. Then now we're here to B, C, D, E, F, G.
Yeah.
Well, I've gone so many different routes away from where God has me that my letters now have numbers with them. Because I've veered off so many times. But the good news is that every time I come back to reality and I realize I've veered off, God is always right there, willing and ready to put me right back on that path. And I feel like that's just slow as smooth and smooth as fast. So it takes time to learn that. So what was, and I know you've been wanting to jump into this, I want to talk about your faith in this changeover so much, and we're going to get into that. And it's like, that was what you just said excited me so much, but there's been more change. So, maybe someone right now watching this has been through every single step that you have. And I know that your story gets a little bit darker before the light shines. So what happened? And I mean, I've been to Lebanon one time. We talked about that at the beginning. I actually met your cellmate. I forgot that you went to Lebanon because life is busy and everything. Yeah. But I know that place is no joke. So
fun. It's fun.
Oh, yeah, it's
prison's not fun.
You could probably elaborate on the lifestyle that you were living, which maybe at that point, maybe that did kind of seem fun in a way because there was distorted thoughts in the picture of what you really wanted. But what was Lebanon like?
So Lebanon was quit saying that. I'm not trying to glorify it at all because, it is what you make it, honestly. But it was rough, dude. Like, constantly looking over my shoulder. You always, and this last time, like I said, like, this is a story of backpedaling and forward pedaling and backpedaling and forward pedaling. I got kicked out of the Lancaster for gangbanging. Like, I got into like a little a gang, and that's why I got leveled up so fast. I was only there. I couldn't have been there for 60 days, and I was already in the hole under invest. And I spent 3 holidays in the hole. So it was just...
Well, there's decisions, I guess, that you have to make when you go behind the wire.
Yeah, it's not easy. I know that the last time, the first time I went to prison, it wasn't fun, and it wasn't a good time. People tried, and if you're trying to stay out of trouble, sometimes it makes you look a little weak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had all the intentions of going up and clicking up. Those brothers were really, if I'm going to link up with somebody, they're going to have good, solid foundation. He's like, okay, this is for me. You know what I mean? The violence and stuff, like, no glorifying. But like I said, we got into Lebanon in a whole different world. It was just like real fights left and right. People, dude, I've seen so much blood there. Dude, I mean, lock and socks were a real thing. robberies. People would fight like they were fighting until their death.
You run into anybody you know there?
Yeah, I knew a couple people from the streets and stuff. So
I mean, I know was there for a while.
yeah, I kept trying to get a hold of him actually, and he kept going into the hole and then get moved out.
You got in there at the same time.
Yep, but I did get to talk to him in county before he rode out. So he got to show me a lot of personal information.
He got hit with a lock and a sock before. Yeah, I saw a picture of it, so I know that that's real.
Oh yeah, it's real.
That made kind of hit all those thoughts together. Yeah. So when I preached at Lebanon, his buddy came, which was cool. And his grandma goes to my church.
Oh yeah.
So what a small world.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lebanon, man. So I'm gonna guess. So you went right back into kind of the gang environment?
Yeah, it was straightforward to it. I was excited about the rank that I had. To me, it was a good time, and I would venture off and like you said, now this present number, it was drugs.
Yeah,
I went right back to doing drugs again, even though I had just accepted Christ. I went back, but this time when I got out, I was done. Like they had needles in there. I used them, and thank God I didn't catch something worse than I had hep already. You know what I mean? I already knew I had hep, so I didn't care at that point. And this is the thing, like, I dodged even huge charges. Like I said, I was under invest for the activity that I had done, and I was facing charges. Like, we were all facing more charges. I was like, great. I came in here
you get more time.
I came in here for almost 2-year bid, and I'm going to leave with 10 to 12. And it's probably going to get added on for that. Like, I started feeling myself going through this down loop, and I started going back to the church in Lebanon, and James, he was like, how is it? He started getting his feet a little warm. You know, he went with me a couple times. Like I said, just because you go into your faith doesn't mean you're not going to mess up. And it's just insane how many times you get a chance. I actually got out. I had ruined my judicial release because I had already got, leveled up and got labeled as a gang member, TG and all that stuff. So there was still some way that I got out 30 days earlier because I went through a course that knocked down good time.
Yeah.
So that was still cool. Yeah. I got out of prison and I used one more time. And that was it. It's from this time forward, I've been clean. Not sober, but clean.
Yeah.
And there is a difference. Like, I'm not bashing on NA, AA. What works for you. But I'm going to tell you right now, there's only one real way that I think that works. And it's the one way that works for me. It was not NA, was not AA. Like I said, other people are different, but the way I went, it didn't work the whole time, but I still got chances again.
Yeah.
And after all that experience, like, I really, I knew I was done after that last time. Like, there wasn't this little bit in the back of my mind saying, you're going to use again. I was done.
You're just like, I'm done.
Yeah, I was done. I did not enjoy it. I knew that whole day, I was just like, I felt so guilty. I'd never felt like this before. It was remorse. Yeah. It was like, yeah, I'm not doing that again. Like, I feel horrible. And ever since then, it's just been, I met a good band of brothers that, hold me accountable.
Yeah.
So
what year did you get out of Lebanon?
I think.
So not that long ago.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. How you and I kind of linked back up. I want to say maybe we touched base 21. I feel like I saw you in a church that I was going to.
Yeah, it was
Faith Life Church. We walked right past each other and saw, and I think I was working security, and I'm like, was that Brandon in church? Man, you were probably thinking the same thing. I just remember thinking, like, man, I haven't seen you in a long time, and now I'm gonna get ready to cry now. Now just thinking about everything that you went through and that I run into you at this place, and wow, And
Yeah.
that is,
we actually ran into each other before prison the second time. So when I left that church, I still tried. Like I said, I went to church, and that's where we met again. And you let me actually borrow $100.
yeah, if you gave me that back today, and I totally forgot all about that. So,
Yeah.
man of his word.
Yeah.
So, you're clean now. And you're talking about, a band of brothers that are helping, keeping you accountable. So, I know that you're a big time motorcycle rider. You're TikTok famous. How did you get into the motor? Like, what got you interested in the motorcycle world? How did you find that?
Basically, it's always been a brotherhood thing to me. Obviously, throughout all these struggles, it was, the farm, brotherhood, gangs, brotherhood, motorcycles, brotherhood. So, and I think that I really crave that. I need it. I know that I can't do it by myself, and some people need that, another kind of guidance and someone to hold them accountable. And I feel like ever since, God's put some people in my life that really yank me away from dumb decisions, and still do. I ride with a band of brothers, and you know of them. They, like, really, honestly, we all run it just like you should. Like, we hold each other accountable. It's the exact recipe that I need. Thankful for them, Yeah. Keeps me out of trouble.
I've met some of your friends, and I know I told one of the guys, like, I was really glad that you had found them, and what you just said makes so much sense, the brotherhood. And I knew you growing up. I didn't know what happened in that, 8 to 10 year span of us both doing different things in life. But I just remember, I feel like we had a brotherhood when we were young.
Yeah.
And, it was the click, or we definitely had out. It's always good to have somebody, that you can rely on. And what I've heard you say through this is you love having somebody to rely on, but I think that ultimately, like, you are relying on God over everything.
Yes.
And man, I think that, that is absolutely amazing. And what a life to live. So getting out, you used, one last time, and that was it. And now you have gotten yourself involved in a good, group of guys that like to ride motorcycles. And I didn't know that, you were so into motorcycles until I started seeing all of your videos and whatnot. And I'm like, man, I ride motorcycles too. And I think that the first time, like, maybe we connected in the longest time, and I hadn't seen you forever, is when I preached for the first time publicly. Man, there's that video. Yeah, they're in that kids. They're in a lot of the photos that we used in the group picture, and that was when I was, put as the chapter chaplain for Columbus, and I was asked to preach at a church, and I was really excited. Man, I invited a lot of people to know that you were one of the guys that came. That really meant a lot to me. And I remember you parking your minivan. I'm like, what is this guy doing? And all these kids jump out, and man, I was really happy to see you. So, how long have you been married now?
4 years. Well, 3 years.
3
All
years.
right, Paige. We met 4 years ago. I'm telling you, listen, when we found each other, I guess you'd say, we got married a year later. I knew she was it.
I knew she was it. That's awesome.
My mom was like, are you sure you want to go with another girl with an addiction past and from the same place? I'm like, absolutely. I need that.
And it probably helps you guys hold each other accountable.
Yeah. She would have had to have the same past as me, because just to be with somebody who's been through this, you're going to have to make stipulations on your future.
If you married somebody that had never experienced that type of life, it would be a culture shock for somebody to understand. So I get what you're saying about being able to understand the mentality of what you went through, to be able to care for you in a different way. Because, people that have never experienced it, it makes no sense to them. So you've been married to Paige for 4 years. No, I'm just kidding. 3. You guys met each other 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And man, that's awesome to have somebody that understands what you've gone through, because I feel like that's a different type of support.
I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I might have been 5 years. Listen, it was 2020. I don't listen.
Well, we are in 2025.
Listen, if I have a black eye the next time you see me, just don't. I'll be okay.
So, and I saw over the summer, it looks like she started riding motorcycles.
Yeah. She learned how to ride a bike and stuff, and it was a good time with her. Like, she's a trooper. She's a little bit of me and a whole lot of me. Like,
you guys are two peas in a pod.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, dude. When I was in prison, I prayed hard. I was like, listen, I need a wife when I get out, because you already know me. Like I said, I need someone to, you know what I mean, hold me accountable. Give me a wife. You know what I'm saying? I felt like when she came along, it was just like right in the good timing. Like, I had used right before then, and like, God puts people in your life for a reason. Like, and she had already had like, I think 4 years clean at that time. So she's a little bit ahead of me, and that's what I needed. Like, yeah. I didn't need somebody who was still using. I didn't need somebody who's been sober their whole life. I needed somebody who is where I needed to be. So we played like, it wasn't no 20 questions. It was like 50 questions, and we both passed that test. And it was like that day, I was like, this is that girl. Marry her.
I know that feeling, man. I knew my wife in high school. We didn't get together until well after high school. So, man, I'll tell you, when I hadn't quit drinking, but I really kind of quit partying, because I realized that I wanted something in the lifestyle that I had wasn't going to attract that. The way I was living, I was going to attract exactly what I was, and I needed the opposite. I quit going out and drinking for a while, and, you know, slowly but surely, I ended up getting to hang out with Jamie, and, you know, we started dating, and that whole party lifestyle was really behind me. I mean, I was still drinking, but not going out raging. Like, it was just a different fundamental, I guess, for me. But I was very glad that wasn't a part of her lifestyle, because with it not being a part of her lifestyle, it made it easy for her to put standards in for me.
Yeah.
Not, so I didn't marry somebody that went through what I went through in the sense, but I married somebody that never was attracted to any of that stuff that I was. And it's just,
that's what you needed.
That's exactly what I needed. And I could tell you right now, if she wanted to go out like after work with her friends, I would have zero worry.
Yeah.
And that is not the type of lifestyle that I used to attract. So I'm super happy. But man, I'm really proud of you, and it's amazing to see how far you've gone. And man, I'm so glad that you're still here, because if you wouldn't have found God, you might not be sitting in this chair.
I wouldn't.
And you might not be breathing. You could be incarcerated, or, man, I know too many people that have overdosed. And it's an honor to have you here today to share your experiences, because, man, you're going to reach somebody that I can't. So God is going to use the experiences that you went through, which I think it's important to say, He didn't set any of those up. And for me, like, God didn't set me up for 2 DUIs, loaded handguns, and all of this stuff to sit in front of somebody and tell a story. Like, I made all of those choices, but I made one important choice. And that one important choice was to follow God. And then I found out that everything that I went through, all of these experiences, He could turn all of those into good by allowing me to share my testimony of where I've been, what I've done, and where I'm at now. And that's exactly what you're doing here today, man. So it's a privilege to be here, to have you share this information. And, you know, if there's anybody out there that's, you know, struggling right now, what would be your faith-based story? Because I know that I wanted to save this to the very end, but there had to have been this time where you kind of like had this aha moment, like God was tugging on your heart in multiple different ways. You heard or felt, sensed something that you shouldn't have left rehab at a certain time. So I know as a man of faith that those feelings, the more you get closer to God, that you get closer to the Word, the more that those feelings start to make sense. Even if
you start seeing when he's actually talking to you.
Yeah. So what was the time that the experience or whatever it was that really sold you out for what you're doing now? And I mean sell out in like a good way.
Pretty much like I said, like I went through that whole time. When the thing that stuck out to me the most is when I left, he immediately, yep, you're going to prison. So that was just pretty much my red flag, say that I should have stayed. My sign, like I see signs all the time. Yeah, I mean, it was really just like, dang, you really do care about me.
Yeah. How'd you get, now I know that your mom brought you to church, and now I know that you're going to church on your own. How did you find the church that you're currently going to, and how did this become a new lifestyle?
It keeps me. One of my brothers actually brought me to this church. I go to More Life, and ever since we started going there, it's just been like our whole family
is going.
Listen, Troy with the crawler. My son and all of my kids went up to the front last weekend.
Ah, man.
All of them went last weekend up front and did the prayer. My son's actually about to get baptized. So I'm doing it right now.
And that is awesome.
Yeah. You'll be a boy, baby.
Man, I'm proud of you.
Appreciate it.
If you could look at someone right now, like that is looking at this screen, and they're a version of you 10 years ago, will you give them some wisdom?
Don't do it. And listen, always just turn to your face, because without him, you ain't going to be able to. I mean, this story has told you how many times I really tried. And this time, I think I got it.
Amen.
But, yeah, all them times of trying to do it yourself, you're going to notice that you can't. You ain't going to be able to. Just give it to him. And, hey, as fast as you do that, the better off. Like I said, you making that decision isn't going to make you sin-free, but you are going to have that little voice that talks to you a little louder every day. Tells you, hey, do this. Or, hey, don't do that. He'll guide you. He'll put something in your life that will tell you that, yeah, this is what it was. Or no, don't do that. And the more you put yourself into that faith, is the stronger you're going to hear it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, I feel that you probably are looking back more in life at accomplishments and things that God has done for you and seeing those victories.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of this conversation, we're talking about the rehab. It was the first place you went is like they reminisced about the past. And, I think that the past is important, but we can't live there. Yeah. And same thing with victories. And I've always looked at these as like these rear view moments. So I do at times glance in the rear view to see what's behind me, because I need to know where I'm coming from. So, don't ever forget where you came from, but don't take your eyes off of where you're going. There are times that it is a good thought maybe to realize where you came from and you don't want to go back to it, because I'm sure that there have been experiences that have come up that have been a struggling day to get through.
Yeah.
And maybe thinking about how good tomorrow is or could be might not be the easiest thing, but understanding where you don't want to go and why in that moment is exactly what you need. And then you get through that and it's like, man, I thought I was going to fail. I thought I was going to fall. And now I peeked in the rearview mirror to see where I came from and what I've done, but now I can look at this and see victory. I was reminded of my past, victory, victory, victory. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this is a huge step. It is. And it was smooth as fast.
It wasn't easy. I'm not going to lie. I didn't even want to do this, but I knew God wanted me to. Like, dude, you're doing it. Well, you're doing it. All right. Listen, I know what's going to happen if I don't listen to you.
I'm just glad that you reached out to me, man. So it's like an honor and a privilege to have you here. So anybody that wants to follow you, that wants to keep up with the good work that you're doing, how can they connect with you online or social media?
I'm on TikTok as Brandon Clemens 1106. You can follow me on Facebook if you want.
Man, I definitely would love to have you back on here. I actually have a few people that have gone through what you've gone through and they wanted to have these conversations. So this is a great starter, but I think that you would be one of the perfect people to really come on here and talk to somebody that has gone through what you guys have gone through. And I think the conversation would go a lot further than me asking, questions and learning as I'm going, but there could be some good content out there.
No, that's basically the goal, is just to not let what I went through get pushed under the rug. The whole point of this is to reach out to somebody. Hopefully somebody gets from what I went through, and uses it to get themselves clean. Because I was at the lowest of my low, 135 pounds. I'm 250 pounds now, bub, and I'm clean. If I can do it, you can.
Ink, man, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to share your story here today. What an amazing experience, and to know that God was a part of it every step of the way, because some people might look at it like God let me go, but maybe in a sense you let God go, but God was always there and he's continuously reminded you. So if you are struggling right now and you think that you're too far gone, well, hopefully this story lets you know that
hit me up if you got some problems. I'll try to talk to you.
You're never too far gone, and God is always right there. We just have to be willing. So thank you so much for joining us here at Chaplain Otto Ministries today, getting to hear this amazing story by Ink, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Stay blessed. Is that good? You want to say anything else?
That was good. Man, you look just like your dad.